Hi, this is Emily of Beauties and Headcanons. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
What's up, everybody? This is Christian Heimel, host of Press Row here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Press Row, where we talk about the biggest issues in sports with the analysts, experts, and reporters who cover them. No nonsense, hard-hitting interviews on the sports topics you're talking about. A new show comes out every single Thursday. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Press Row. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Throughout history, the course of sports has been shaped by one thing: the fans.
From the moments you never dreamed of.
Bobby Wilkins has saved the USA's life in this World Cup. Hall, the runner, loose ball, it's good. Gonzaga, the slipper still fits.
To the moments that still give you nightmares.
Behind the bag, it gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it. He's in. Patriots win the Super Bowl. Brady has his fifth.
Through the good and the bad, fans have helped change the games we watch and the players we love.
They may not be the most logical people.
You are a factory of sadness. I'll see you Sunday.
But they know their teams better than anybody.
They'll blow in the ninth.
You may not always see them, but you know where to find them.
After all, there's nothing quite like the view from the cheap seats.
Broadcasting as part of the Public House Media Network.
Grab a chair and enjoy all there is in
The cheap seats.
And happy Friday to you, Matt Coyne, alongside Jake Holmes. Jakes, how are you doing this morning?
Man, I could not be better. It's late July. Football's coming up. Hockey's starting to, a little bit of starting up a little bit. You know, the Beauty League last night. Was happy to have an assignment for Pittsburgh hockey now, talking about Teddy Bluger. I'm great. I'm ready to get going.
Great. Yeah. Well, as always, welcome to the Cheap Seats. Matt Coyne, Jake Holmes for your Friday edition. And wanted to remind you, as always, we are presented by Public House Media. You can listen to us on iTunes, Google Podcasts, anywhere you can get your podcasts. You can learn more at thephmedia.com. Like us on our Facebook page, and as always, our daily poll question on the Cheap Seats Facebook page. So let's get started here, Jake. Jake, if I told you that you could arrive to work in a helicopter or a tank, what would you say?
I'm not a flyer. I have an irrational fear of flying. Definitely a tank, no doubt.
Well, great. Yeah. So the reason I ask is this past week, and as many of you know, NFL training camps are getting away, and Antonio Brown and Antonio Brown showed up in a helicopter. DeMarcus Lawrence from the Cowboys showed up in a tank. Jake, I'm sure you love this, that Vince Williams showed up as Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I saw that the other night, and I was getting ready to throw a couple beers at my computer screen. I was like, he came in wearing the full vest, the denim shorts. I was just waiting for him to crack a couple beers over on the on AB's helicopter, but yeah, it's always fun to see those guys come in, and adds a little bit of pizzazz and character, to the NFL. A lot of NFL players don't need to really emphasize their charisma and character, but it's a cool personal touch. I like it. I've always liked it. So. Not everyone does, but it's definitely fun to see.
Yeah, I agree. I love it. I love every year's scene. I remember probably 4 or 5 years back, the whole entire Steelers offensive line showed up in Mini Coopers. Every year, they do something special. What's your favorite so far there this year, Jake?
Well, this year it's definitely Vince Williams showing up as Stone Cold.
That was a dumb question.
It's got to be that one. But I think the brand. I think I don't like him. But I think Cam Newton coming in with in his Silverado, sure. I mean, it's modest for an NFL player, but he had the electric scooter and everything. He was driving around camp on an electric scooter. I think that's pretty funny. But yeah, so that's other than Vince with Stone Cold. I mean, I gotta say probably Cam.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Ty Montgomery, I liked he showed up in one of those slingshot cars.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Antonio Brown, year after year, he's eventually gonna run out of stuff to come in on here. So we'll see what he does. But it's always, like I said, it's always fun every year. What they come in, and Jake and myself being from Pittsburgh. I remember always, they practice at St. Vincent College, going down Route 30 through Latrobe, and people just lining to see what the players were coming in on. So I'm sure as we go through that, Jake, I'm pretty sure there's still some camps still opening up. Is that correct?
Yeah, I know the Redskins come in. I think. I think that it's tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow or Saturday. I think the Redskins are the last one. The first ones were the Ravens and Vikings, obviously because they're in the Hall of Fame game. But yeah, there's still a few more. I'm anxious to see, not a lot of like eccentric personalities like on the Redskins, for instance, except for Josh Norman. Norman, but I'm not really quite sure, if we're going to get even more. But real quick, I want to say one thing. Wouldn't it be crazy if Antonio Brown, I think the only way that he can, step up his game is if he comes down Route 30 on a giant Primanti sandwich. Could you imagine that? That'd be wild.
Yeah, but leave it to him. He would do it. It's like an Oscar Mayer wiener, but Primanti's.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, so Jake and I have a lot of football for you today. We're going to continue our NFL preview with the different divisions. Today we're going to be focusing on the North's AFC and NFC. Obviously, Jake and I will have a lot to say about the AFC North. We'll also be talking about MLB trades, trade rumors, everything going along with that. And then our quiz show and poll question at the end. So we hope you stay with us. As always, we love that you're with us. We hope you enjoy the show this morning. But when we come back, we will be talking about the AFC North. Stay with Jake and me here in the Cheap Seats.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cheap Seats. I'm Jake Holmes with Matt Coyne. It's a little bit of we're a little opposite here right now. I'm bringing us back to our AFC North conversation.
We wanted to throw everybody off.
Yeah, throw a little curveball into the action, here. But yeah, I mean, if you remember last week, guys, if you were listening in last week, Matt and myself, of course, we gave our predictions for the AFC East and the NFC East. We were pretty similar. We had a few switch ups. Of course, I had the Patriots at winning the AFC East, of course, at 12-4, Bills at 7-9, Jets at 6-10, Dolphins at 3-13. You, Matt, you had the Patriots at 14-2, the Jets at 6-10, Bills 5-11, and the Dolphins at 3-13. Wow, the embarrassment of riches. Quite the opposite there. Quite the spread of good team to bad team.
Yeah.
But the NFC East, of course, we'll be talking about the NFC North as well. NFC East last week, I had the Eagles at 12-4, Giants at 10-6, Cowboys 8-8, Redskins at 5-11. Matt, you had Eagles at 11-5. Cowboys at 9-7, Giants at 9-7. Cowboys win the tiebreaker, the head-to-head matchups, but the Redskins bottom dwelling as usual at 5-11. So we're going to start out with the AFC North. I'm pretty sure that you and I are probably going to have a similar opinion with with what goes on in the AFC North. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers winning the division at 11-5. I think that it's a really tough schedule. I think the Steelers have 12-4, 13-3 talent, but that division. But I'm sorry, the divisions that they play this year, particularly the NFC South, they have to take on the Saints. They have the Falcons. Yeah. Even the Buccaneers. 4 years ago, they dropped that awful game to Mike Glennon's Buccaneers team. That was putrid. That was at Heinz Field. Really hot September day. Every year, one of those weird games like week 3, week 4, the Steelers find a way to drop. But yeah, I mean, and also of course the Carolina Panthers. I think that the Steelers might even go 1-3 against that division because it's so good offensively. The Steelers struggle in the secondary. I'm going to say Pittsburgh 11-5, but the team is much better than that. I feel like the Steelers are a better team than 11-5, but that's what the record's going to end up.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. 11-5, but I have the Cleveland Browns. Just kidding, I don't. I have the Pittsburgh Steelers at 11-5. Going down through their schedule, you're right there with me, Jake. I don't see, a few key matchups. The Jaguars, they'll lose 35-0 for some reason. They can't beat them. You have, like you said, you have the South. That's going to be really hard to come out of that division. I'll be happy if they're 2-2 coming out of those 4 games. You end the season, you got the Patriots and Saints and at Cincinnati. I mean, that is a hard finish to a season. They could go 13-3, 12-4. Realistically, I think 11-5. I'll be honest with you, I won't be surprised if they're 10-6.
Yeah, and I mean I agree. I agree because they're gonna have. They went 6-0 against the division last year, I think, but you know that they're gonna have probably like a game in Baltimore or something that they struggle with. Even in Cleveland, week 1 they're probably going to struggle. I mean, last year the Browns went 0-16 and still the Steelers only won that game 21-18.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're going to have some issues, I think, but yeah, I mean, we both got the Steelers at 11-5. So now my second place team, I'm going to throw a giant curveball at you, Matt. You were probably going to say, Jake, go to Wednesday or Monday, man. Like, I think the Cleveland Browns are going to finish second in the division, and I think they're going to go 8-8.
Interesting.
I like their offense. I love their offense. I like what they've done. I'm a huge Baker Mayfield fan. I think that ultimately he's going to probably be their starter. But Josh Gordon, Jarvis Landry, Corey Coleman, and there's rumors of Dez Bryant.
Yeah.
That's tough. Plus, Duke Johnson is one of the most underrated players in the NFL, I think. They also brought in Carlos Hyde and Nick Chubb, the rookie from Georgia. That David Njoku, the offensive line's very good. Their front 7 on defense is very good as well. I worry about the secondary, especially playing against an air raid like the Steelers, the Saints, of course, and the Falcons as well. I'm going to say 8-8. The Cleveland Browns are going to finish second in the division.
Wow, that's interesting. We'll see. I mean, it is the Browns, so they'll go through 12 quarterbacks this year.
Yep, yeah, they're gonna end up. They're literally probably gonna end up with somebody off the street.
Tim Couch is coming back. Well, I have the Ravens at 7-9, finishing second. This division, I don't think the Steelers are going to have a lot of trouble taking it. There's nothing that excites me about this division, which is interesting because in years past it's such a hard-fought division. Baltimore, they're coming. There's nothing about this team that excites me. There's nothing that I see that they can surpass the Steelers. They have just as hard as the schedule as the Steelers. Like we've been saying, they got to play that NFC South. They obviously get 2 games with the Browns, but they have a tough schedule. But I think they can pull 7-9 out.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Nothing about the Ravens excites me. They used to have that really big, intimidating defense with Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, Ed Reed. You know the works. Terrell Suggs, I believe, is going into his 15th or 16th year.
He needs to just get off the field. I can't stand him.
I can't either. And you know what? You know what stinks? Like the thing, being a Steeler fan, and I know I'm pretty sure that you're with me. I respected the Baltimore Ravens, like when the Steelers and them were having the huge rivalries. I don't respect what the Bengals do.
No.
But there was just always something about Terrell Suggs. Like I just don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just like how almost like loud he is, and just like the constant like smack talking.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't get it. He's still the leader of that defense, I guess, which is pretty putrid. But yeah, the Ravens are going 7-9. They're going to finish third in the division. The only thing that it's crazy. The thing that worries me most about the Baltimore Ravens is Lamar Jackson.
I was just about to ask you, do you see him getting on the field this year?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And I'll tell you, my a guy that I work with a little bit, huge Ravens fan, and he says that if Joe Flacco has just a little bit of a lapse, that Lamar Jackson's probably going to come in. And the Steelers, they've always struggled against athletic quarterbacks. I mean, that guy from the Falcons and Eagles and Jets. I don't say his name because I don't respect him.
Yeah.
But he killed the Steelers every time that he played him. That's a guy that I worry about. There's nothing in a random running back like Buck Allen maybe. But yeah, nothing about the Ravens excites me. They're going to go 7-9. They're not going to be too much of a threat. I'm with you.
Yeah. So who do you have third here? Or no,
I got the Baltimore Ravens.
Yes, you have third. So I guess I need to give you my third place team, which I'm not as surprised by your Cleveland pick as you probably thought, because I have them third at 7-9 as well.
Nice.
So I agree. I think they got a lot of young talent. They got Baker Mayfield. I think he'll end up out on the field. Denzel Ward they picked up in the first round. Austin Corbett from Nevada. Like you said, Nick Chubb. I think that's going to be huge. I'm still struggling. With the if they could have got Saquon Barkley as well, I think it would have been insane. But Nick Chubb is a nice player. Watching him play in Georgia, I was always impressed with him. Always enjoyed watching him play. So I think he'll be an instant impact with this young talent.
Yeah, and let's not forget the year that Todd Gurley went down with that injury. Nick Chubb came in. You didn't really, you noticed the difference, but it wasn't that drastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was very, very good player. I'm glad. I thought that you were going to think I was crazy, man.
I'm one of those ones every year. I'm like, they're going to finish 1-15, but I just think I can see it this year. It seems like they are getting their talent together.
Yeah, and Hugh Jackson's a fantastic coach. But speaking of coaches, one that's terrible and somehow still has a job is Marvin Lewis, and the Cincinnati Bengals are going to go 4-12. They're just not good. There's nothing about them that is good. Vontez Burfict suspended, I think, the first 3 games, and say what you want about Burfict. I have many times, but he's an okay player. He's a good NFL player. He's a quality player. He's not a very good person, but yeah, Andy Dalton and AJ Green. That's pretty much all they got. Bengals 4-12 last.
Yeah, obviously I have Cincinnati rounding off at 5-11. Other than Vontez Burfict, don't even get me started on him. I honestly think, Jake, that he should not be allowed in the league with some of the stuff that he's done. I know so many people, it's because you're a Steelers. I'll be honest, that's part of it. But watching what he has done to other players, that has nothing to do with my 5-11, but that's my little rant. There's nothing on, they use their first round draft pick for a center. I'm not saying center's not important. They have a lot of holes to fill in that lineup, and center isn't going to help them this year.
No, I agree 100% with you. Yeah, I don't know why they chose that. I forget who was on the board and that could have helped them out, but yeah, regardless, the Bengals aren't going to be very good. So yeah, that's our lineup there. We both have the Steelers at 11-5, winning the AFC North. Browns, I have the Browns at 8-8. You have the Ravens at 7-9, finishing second in the division. I have the Ravens at 7-9 as well, but you have the Browns at 7-9, finishing third. And then of course we both have the Bengals in the cellar where they should be. 4-12. I have 4-12. You have 5-11. So yeah, that's the AFC North. I hope that you stick with us for our NFC North predictions. I have a few different curveballs in there as well. I'm sure Matt will as well. But yeah, feel free, stick with us. We hope you stick with us right here in the Cheap Seats.
And welcome back to the Cheap Seats. Jake Holmes, Matt Coyne. We want to remind you that this show does come out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Monday is always with Christian and Jonathan. Wednesday, Keith and Max. And we'll get into this, but Jake, Keith, and Max brought up a lot of debate with their poll question from Wednesday. So I thought you and I need to chime in on that.
I saw that and I agree. We do need to talk about it.
Yeah, so I'd like to get your idea or what you think about that whole thing, and then we'll give you our poll question. But like I said, Christian and Jonathan on Monday, Keith and Max on Wednesday, and then the C team here with Jake and me. There's a reason they put us on Friday, and there's a reason that we'll just keep it at that. But okay, so let's get into the NFC North. Jake, I think this is a very interesting division. Two teams that, I don't know about you, but I think two teams that could, a lot of people are going back and forth, and I'm talking about the Minnesota Vikings, Green Bay Packers. But I do have the Packers taking this division at 12-4 this year. I have to say that because I live in Green Bay country now, and I don't want to get yelled at. No, just kidding. But I do see Aaron Rodgers coming back. I think a lot of Jake, I'll be honest, I'm surprised that so many people are forgetting he missed a lot of the year last year. Yes, the Vikings are a good team. They have a lot of talent, but Aaron Rodgers, I always say that, but Aaron Rodgers. And I think as long as he stays healthy this year, I see them, like I said, I put them at 12-4. I could even see them going 13-3 as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah, and isn't it funny? I just always think this is funny because I like Aaron Rodgers. I think he's amazing. I think he doesn't get. I don't think he gets enough credit, to be honest with you. Because I mean, look what the Packers are without him. You know, I mean,
nothing.
It was just. I mean, it was just unbelievable. They still almost beat the Steelers last year, but that's.
Oh my gosh. Of course, my first year living out here, and that almost happened.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was brutal. But yeah, I'm going to disagree.
Oh,
I'm kind of happy you picked the Packers at 12-4. I have the Vikings going 13-3.
Okay,
I love the Minnesota Vikings. I love what they've done. Their weak link, if you will, last year was their quarterback, and they brought one in that is not great. I don't think he's elite, but he's better than Case Keenum.
He's getting paid like one.
He's getting paid like one. He shouldn't. But Dalvin Cook, they got Latavius Murray, they got Jerick McKinnon. They have weapons on the outside for Kirk Cousins, which is something that he never really had in Washington. The defense is insane. I love the Minnesota Vikings. I got them 13-3, winning the division, and they will be the number 1 seed in the NFC.
Ooh, all right. So you heard there's your number 1 seed from Jake. Well, and one thing I wanted to touch on real quick, Jake, and I'm sorry, I wanted to talk Packer-wise. The other reason I like them this year is they went out on their 1 and 2 picks and got got 2 cornerbacks that they desperately needed. So I'm sorry to bring back, but I wanted to make sure I said that. I think that's going to help them. That's been a huge hole. They keep bringing back these old players, and it hasn't done any good for them.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. I thought that was good. A team that is on the brink of being a real Super Bowl contender, addresses their biggest issue in the draft in the first round. I agree.
Yeah. So, while I have at 12-4, I have the Minnesota Vikings. I have a lot of ties this year, Jake, because I just like to see that. It's fun. But I will say I'm surprised with the NFL that they have Minnesota playing the Packers in week 2, and then they have them playing them in 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, in week 12.
That's terrible.
Why don't they have them playing in week 16 or 17? I don't believe that.
Yeah, it's terrible, especially when it's so obvious that those are going to be the final, the teams that will come out of the North.
Yeah,
I
so
don't understand.
Yeah, and I mean the Vikings, I agree with you. I like their team. I think Cousins is going to come in and make a difference. Again, I don't think he deserves to get what he got paid, but I think all the hype and everything, it's kind of what caused it. I was able to see the Vikings play last year in week 2 in Pittsburgh and at Heinz Field, and a friend of mine who's from Minneapolis, he flew out and we watched the game together, and he's like, we're going to get destroyed. I said, Derek, I mean, they're a good team. I really think they're going to have a good year. And he goes, no. I said, they will make the playoffs. I promise you. I did not think they were going to do as good as they did, Jake. I'll be honest with you, but they're a talented team.
I agree, and I'm a closet Vikings fan. They're like I'm a closet Viking fan. I was wearing my Greg Jennings jersey when my old Greg Jennings Minnesota Viking jersey when they got destroyed to Philadelphia in the AFC Championship. I was pretty angry, but yeah. Speaking of great teams, obviously I'm gonna have Green Bay finishing second in the division. I agree they're going to go 12-4. Aaron Rodgers is healthy. He's amazing. He's the reason the Packers are the Packers right now. I love what they did in the draft, addressing the cornerback position, especially with Zaire Alexander. I think the Packers are legit Super Bowl contender with the Vikings. I think that those are two of probably, I think, the 3 or 4 best teams in the NFC. Packers 12-4. Aaron Rodgers is probably going to win NFL MVP.
Yeah. Well, Jake, if you want, I will be at the Steelers-Packers preseason game in Lambeau, and I have an extra ticket, so you make it out here, and that ticket's yours.
Oh, look at this guy!
So I'm just throwing this out there. I'm going with 6 other guys who are Packers fans. I need some Steelers support.
Oh man, you need some help, brother. You need some.
It was funny because I said I have plenty of Steelers gear for anybody who needs it, and they're like, no, unless you pay for our ticket. I went, that's tempting.
Yeah, it is.
I tell you what, Jake, one thing about Lambeau Field, about Packers fans, so many people asked me when I moved out here, they said, are Steelers fans more dedicated than Packers fans? And Jake, I'll be honest with you, they're not.
Really?
It is insane. So this is a city of 100,000 with a stadium that fits 80,000. That the Packers, this is Packers 365. It's impressive. Their waiting list for tickets makes the Steelers waiting list just nothing. I think it's like 80 years or something like that.
Bonkers.
Yeah,
the Steelers, I thought the Steelers was crazy. It's like 14 or 15.
Yeah, I mean it's impressive. It's a really, I recommend for any sports fan to put on your bucket list to go see Lambeau Field. It's like $20. You can go in and get a full tour of the stadium and go into their Hall of Fame. It's really cool. It's really cool to see what has happened for that to be a team.
Yeah, funny you say that, because one of the things on my sports bucket list, of course, at the top is see all 30 MLB stadiums, but right there in the top 5 is go to a game at Lambeau in December. It really is.
Well, Jake, maybe we got to make that happen for you then.
Oh, baby, let's go. I'm ready.
All right, so let's get back into this. We're talking everybody in Green Bay's, or everybody in Pittsburgh's going to think that Green Bay is brainwashing me. They're not, I promise. So, Jake, who's your third place team in NFC North?
Oh, it's the Detroit Lions. Matt Stafford again. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is great, and I mean, don't get me wrong, Matt Stafford's great. But he's not Aaron Rodgers, you know. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is I think one of the most talented quarterbacks of all time. Matt Stafford's one of the best in the NFL. I'm a big Matt Stafford fan, but that is all they have. That's all they have. They don't give him any help. I'd love to see if they brought in like a Dez Bryant or some talent to put around him. But they're still just messing around with Theo Riddick and Amir Abdullah in the backfield. Like, give the man some help. That's my Detroit Lions rant. 7-9, the Detroit Lions finished third in division.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Just a little. I'm at 8-8 with them. I think they're just going to be right around 500. You know, Matthew Stafford, I've always been a big fan. People say I look like him.
You do.
So I gotta like him, and his name's Matthew. So but you know, he's every year he's an impressive. Last year, threw for almost 4,500 yards, 29 touchdowns. Every year he does that. It's amazing that Detroit's not putting players around him. Now don't get me wrong. I know it's not as simple as that, but you know, it amazes me that they haven't had more playoff runs in the Matthew Stafford era.
No, I agree. And I mean, even a few years ago, what was it, 2 or 3 years ago, they lost to the Seahawks, I think, in the wild card game, or in the wild card round, and like that team was still, it just wasn't that good. It just wasn't that good. They had Ndamukong Suh a couple years, and then Nick Fairley. They drafted Nick Fairley, and everybody thought that defensive line was going to be the next Purple People Eaters or something crazy. But yeah, I mean, there's not, the only thing about them is Matt Stafford. I agree.
Yeah. So far we've flipped the top two, but it seems like our bottom two are going to be the same. I have Chicago Bears rounding it out at 5-11. You know, they got a young quarterback in Mitchell Trubisky. I always struggle with his name, Jake. You know, I struggle with people's names, especially his. I mean, they have an amazing running back with Jordan Howard, but that's where it stops for them. I don't like you. It's kind of with Detroit. There's nothing there. That they have a couple good young players, but that's about it.
Yeah, I agree. 5-11. I'm right there with you as well on them. The Bears in a couple years I'm excited for, because I was really high on their first round draft pick, Roquan Smith. I think that he is going to be Luke Kuechly-esque. I really like Roquan Smith, what he did at Georgia. I think that he's amazing. I like Mitch Trubisky. They also brought in Allen Robinson on the perimeter, which is good. Which is good that they brought in a wide receiver, because their top two receivers last year were their running backs, Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard. They needed to bring something in. But their running backs are fantastic. I mean, they single-handedly beat the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. And yeah, I mean, Chicago in a couple years, I'll be excited about them. But for right now, 5-11, 6-10. I'm going to say 5-11.
Yeah. All right. So, Jake, how about you run down the NFC North for us?
Yeah, baby. We got I'm on the Vikings. I'm on the winning the division at 13-3. I got the Packers 12-4, finishing second. Lions at 7-9, Bears at 5-11. You, my friend, you got the Packers winning the division with a head-to-head matchup, 12-4. Vikings second at 12-4. Lions at 8-8, and the Bears at 5-11.
Yeah, so there you go. So we've done the East and we have done the Norths. Make sure you listen in upcoming weeks as we continue with the West and the South in AFC and NFC, and eventually get down to Jake and my Super Bowl champion. So when we come back here, we're going to shift over to baseball, talk a little bit of trades, and Jake and I, we're going to be Yinzers. That's what we do. We were going to brag a little bit about our hometown team, even though we're still not happy with them. Stay with Jake and me here in the Cheap Seats. And welcome back to the Cheap Seats. Matt Coyne, Jake Holmes. We just got done talking some NFL. We're going to go into baseball. We're getting into exciting time. This is always, I know we're still a little early for playoff and wild card talk, but we're in a very important time of the year with the trade deadline looming. A lot of teams. The question out there, Jake, is buyers or sellers. Before we get into that, Pittsburgh Pirates go on an 11-game winning streak. 11 games, Jake.
Let's get it.
That's impressive. I mean, and here's the thing about that streak. They weren't just winning their games 2-1, 3-2. They were impressively winning their games.
Well, yeah, they over the weekend, over last weekend against the Reds, they outscored them like something 27-9. Like, I mean, in 3 games. I mean, it was ridiculous, and they even did that to the Indians. They got shut out in Game 3 on Wednesday, but I mean, putting up almost 10 runs a game, it was impressive. I was impressed, especially for somebody that didn't quite believe in this team. Look at them now; they're only 3 games out of a wild card spot.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to jump on I'm always on the Pirates bandwagon, even if they finish 162, but I'm still not sold on them. But, Jake, here's my question for you that leads me into the buyers, sellers. Out of these teams, the Pittsburgh Pirates, San Francisco Giants, and St. Louis Cardinals, who do you see any of these teams buying during the trade deadline, or do you see selling? Where do you see these teams?
So for those 3, I think they all buy.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they all buy, and I'll tell you, it's not going to be, if there's one of those teams that's going to go out and try to get like Daniel Murphy from the Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that they would, do that would be the Giants. If they were to, if one of those teams go out and get like a big name, like a big name like Chris Archer or something, it would be the Giants.
Yeah.
But I think the Cardinals and Pirates will add pieces. The Pirates especially, I think, will go after like a lesser known name. Like we're seeing, the Rangers interested in some prospects for the Texas Rangers closer, Keon Kela. Good ball player. He's got good numbers, especially for a team that stinks. Yeah. I mean, I think it would be worth giving up like Jordan Luplow. Somebody like that. If you're the Pirates, I mean. But yeah, I think both the Cardinals and Pirates will do something, especially with both teams really kind of focused on the future rather than the present. Of course, the Pirates have been focused on the future for 25 years now. But,
yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like Bob Nutting is sitting in his office. He's like, "Would you guys stop winning now that you're gonna make me have to buy?"
His glasses are all fogged up. I mean, gosh, I can't even imagine what's going through that man's head.
Oh, and I'll be honest with you, Jake. So I read the other day on ESPN that they averaged 28,100 fans in 2016. Jake, this year, 18,000. They have lost 10,000 in attendance since 2016, and we know why. But Nutting, I think that 11-game winning streak, if that didn't happen, it is what it is. But he needs to buy. I really do think so. So I agree with you. I think if they don't, I mean, it's just going to blow anything out that people had hope-wise.
Exactly. And here's the thing: is I'm not asking for Chris Archer. It would be great. I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for a piece that can help you towards a wild card game. Because if you make the wild card, I don't care what the team looks like. If you're going to get butts in the seats.
Yeah.
You're going to get people that game. I mean, probably it would be in Milwaukee or Chicago more than likely.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you get people in those seats, man, I tell you, the culture of baseball in Pittsburgh goes back to where it was in 2015.
Well,
it doesn't matter what the team.
Yeah, I mean, look what they did when they. I'm sorry, I don't want to get off on the Pirates here too much, but look when they brought in. Who did they bring in from the Twins? First baseman Mauer.
Oh, Justin Morneau?
Yeah, Justin Morneau. Yeah. Like, I was there that first night he played, and it was a sellout. It was huge. Yes, he was a flop, but they did something, and that's they can't help if a player's a flop. They bring a name in who they think is going to help the team. And I mean, look, there's a few players out there that were traded just yesterday, actually. But let's talk about that, Jake. You know, we have a bunch of teams. The Yankees went out yesterday and got Jay Happ. You got the Brewers going out and getting Joakim Soria. You got the Astros taking the catcher from Angels, the Martin
Maldonado.
Thank you. I should go to a name school or something because I can never say their names. But you have these teams. This is the time of the year they're getting better. But there's one big name out there still looming, and that's Chris Archer. Do you see him going anywhere, Jake?
Well, here's the thing. That the Rays have been decent recently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what makes it tricky. You know, yeah. So I don't know. He's a good young player. I hope that he I hope that he goes somewhere. And you know, Tampa Bay, Tampa's getting a new stadium. You know, I mean, you know, they're just about done at Tropicana. But I don't know. I don't know. I'd like to see Chris Archer go somewhere else. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe even to a bigger market because I mean, he's a heck of a ball player. He's a heck of a pitcher. I mean, he's a legit 1 or 2 in this league. Mm-hmm. I hope that he goes somewhere. I don't know. Obviously, the Pirates would be great, but but I mean, the Dodgers, somewhere mm-hmm. like that. That always bring in like a top 3, top 4 guy. I think would be great for him. Yeah, if I had to put down a prediction, I'll say no that he doesn't go anywhere, but I would like to see him.
Yeah, and here's the thing about the Rays, Blue Jays, Orioles, Red Sox, and Yankees aren't going anywhere. And this is what we've talked about, before, Jake. That is it fair? No, but they're not going anywhere. Maybe the Devil Rays can get something. Wow, Devil Rays. They haven't been called that in years, and I just pulled that out of nowhere.
Those were some of the coolest uniforms. That was the coolest logo in the history of baseball.
Yes, yeah, those were. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I'd like to see him go somewhere. I think it's going to take a lot to get him, but I think if the right price happens for the Rays, I could see it happening. But there's still a lot of talk out there. The Cubs and Braves. There's rumors that they're shopping for Cole Hamels. There's like you said, Jake. Rangers are trying to go after some Pirates prospects. It seems like Rangers are clearly going to be sellers here. Zach Wheeler from the Mets, there's a lot of talk of him on the move. So we'll see what happens. I mean, maybe before you even listen to this show, some of these names will be moved. So it's always an exciting time. It's one of my favorite time of the year to the MLB Trade Deadline. So we'll see what happens and see where we go from there. But we have a lot of teams since the last time Jake and I have talked that are a lot of things have changed other than the Baltimore Orioles, who are 41.5 games out.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, I mean, you saw but again, I mean, it comes back to the Pirates, but it's the truth. I mean, it's relevant, other than us complaining. I mean, their 11-game win streak put them in the wild card race. I mean, of course, you still got the Rockies in there, you got the Diamondbacks in there, and you got the Giants, but I mean, they added to the mix. It's really exciting. It's a really exciting time of year. The National League in particular has just so many teams that still have a shot at this thing.
Yeah,
and it's going to be really interesting to see who buys and who sells.
Yeah, I agree. It'll be fun. By the next time we come back together, the trade line will be done. So we'll see what happens. So Jake and I, when we come back, we're gonna be doing our quiz show. Talk a little bit about the poll question. We want to chime in on the Wednesday poll question because that got a lot of heat on Facebook, a little bit back and forth, and so we're gonna share our thoughts on that. So stay with Jake and me here in the cheap seats. Welcome back to the Cheap Seats. Matt Coyne, Jake Holmes. Before we get into the quiz show, Jake is jumping out of his seat to talk to us about this poll question from Wednesday, which was, should the college football playoff be extended to 16 teams? Jake, go.
It should be expanded, but not to 16 teams. It has to be expanded. You mean to tell me that there's 128 college football teams in the country, in NCAA that have a chance to win the national title, and you pick out 4 of them, and it's a group of 12 rich dudes that are sitting in Tuscaloosa or something? You got to be kidding me. I get so fired up every year with the college football, Final Four, if you will. The championship. It's a better system than the BCS, but come on. There's 128 teams. You pick 4, and in my opinion, and in pretty much anyone with a brain's opinion, only 1 year that they've got it right. They've got the right 4. You mean to tell me that in 2017 season, that the Washington Huskies were better than Penn State? Are you kidding me? That it's terrible. Who was on that Washington team? It was John Ross, who is doing absolutely nothing right now. That was what they had. They played in a Pac-10 or 12, whatever they call it now. They played in that conference where literally nobody was good. I mean, Penn State, they lost in the Rose Bowl that year, but that team was so good, and what they overcame against Michigan that year, losing 45-10 in week 4. But they overcame. They beat Ohio State, a really good Ohio State team. They came back. They won the Big Ten. Come on, give me a break that they should only have 4 teams. It's got to be 6 or 8 at least.
I'm right there with you. That year obviously it hits home for both of us, but I still cannot believe. And then it was so funny because you had Ohio State fans say, no, this is right. And then the very next year, I believe it was, they got screwed and then they complained. Am I wrong when thinking that, Jake?
No, you're right. And the year that I say that they got it right was last year with Alabama. What was it? It was Alabama. It was last year.
I can't
Oklahoma,
think either.
Georgia, Alabama, Clemson.
Yes.
That was the Final Four. They got that right. They got that right. Alabama was the 4th best team during the regular season there, and they got rewarded for it. They won the college football national championship. Yeah. That was the year that they got it right. It was a little bit ironic that that of the whole Ohio State thing.
Yeah, it was so frustrating to me. But I've always said, well, not always, since this has been going on, I really like the 8. I like the. I know people say 5 from the Big Five, like from the Big 5 conferences, and then 3 at large. I don't think they need to do that because you're still not necessarily getting the best 8 teams. I also personally think, Jake, that they need to take out these people who vote and bring back the computer rating, or do a different rating. That it's ridiculous that a handful of people in a room decide who goes and who doesn't.
I agree, and it just it fires me up, and it's not even because I'm a lifelong huge Penn State fan or anything. Like every year they screw it up. I mean, it's every year, and it's these people. Like, come on,
I've never, and then the thing that, I understand they play different schedules, but I think, can't you learn a little bit from basketball? I mean, I feel like now I'm not saying 68 teams, but what I am saying is the system they have seems to work for the most part. I know every year there's snubs, but like you said, that percentage to make 4 teams, at least it's better than what they did before. I agree with that. It's better than having the co-champions. There were years that happened, but they need to do better. They tried this. It works with the 4 teams. What I'm saying is it's better. Now make it even better.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
Well, Jake and our poll question, I don't think is going to get as much interest in it, but our poll question, because we did disagree with the NFC North, our question today is, who do you think is going to win the NFC North, the Packers or the Vikings? So you can go on our Cheap Seats page on Facebook and go ahead and vote for that, who you think is going to win the NFC North. And Jake, so what we got, we've been starting this new session, this new segment called Quiz Show. So Jake, we're going to get this started right here. If you want to go ahead and give me your first question.
Yeah, going off of our last segment here, the Pittsburgh Pirates won 11 straight games. It was their longest win streak since when? You want me to give years? I'll give you options.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem. 1996, 1992, 1990.
96.
Absolutely correct, Mike.
I knew it was mid-90s, but I couldn't remember when it was. All right. Hey, I feel smart. Thank you. Thank you for giving me that. All right, so Jake, my first question for you is, Muhammad Ali retired in 1981. We're going boxing here. How many losses did he have in his career? 2, 3, 5, or 9?
So it was 2, 3, 5, or 9?
Correct. Yep.
His overall record. I'm gonna say I think it was 5.
Yes, you're right. Do you know how many wins he had?
He had was close to 60, I believe. It was 57.
Wow, you're good. 55. That's impressive.
55.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so we each are 1 for 1 here. What do you got here for me, Jake?
All right, I got you. Just last week, Johnny Manziel was traded in the Canadian Football League from the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Who did he get traded to? The A, Toronto Argonauts, B, Montreal Alouettes, C, Calgary Stampeders.
The last place Montreal Alouettes.
Hey, my man, there we go.
Oh boy, what a mess. And it's a shame because he was talented coming out of college.
He was. I mean, I was a Johnny Manziel fan. I admit it, but I mean, I was also a freshman in college. I mean, who wouldn't like Johnny Manziel at that point in their life? You know what I mean? So,
absolutely, yeah. Well, I want to remind before I ask Jake this next question, if you're listening, you want to be part of this, Jake and I don't want to do this every week. We'd love you to be part of this show. Go on the Cheap Seats page. Let us know that you want to be part of it. You can go up against Jake or myself. One of us will come up with the questions, and you can face against the other one. So I think that'll be fun. We'll have to get some more people on here, Jake, just so it's not always us, but... all right, so your next question, we're going to go over to baseball. Babe Ruth, you know who he is, Baby Ruth.
Yeah, the little guy.
Yeah, Baby Ruth, yeah, the great Bambino. For you Sandlot fans out there, Baby Ruth. Who is Baby Ruth? Anyways, he came into the league. He started his career in what year with the Boston Red Sox? I will give you choices. I won't just leave you hanging here, Jake. 1911, 1914, 1917, or 1918?
Oh, he was a rookie in, was it 19? Oh, geez. Was it 1914?
It was 19. Jake, you're like on a... Have you ever got one of my questions wrong? I got to make them harder.
Well, last week I went 1 for 3. Do you
Oh,
remember
that's
that
right. Yeah, you're
miserable
right.
time?
You
Oh
did.
my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, you got Hacksaw Jim Duggan correct.
Yeah. Oh, thank you,
I
Hacksaw.
knew you want to get that
Thank you.
right. All right, so bonus question. This is pretty easy, I think, for you. But what position did he come into the league in?
Oh, man, jeez. Did he come in as a pitcher?
Yeah, yep, came in as a pitcher. Great pitcher, actually. He was an amazing pitcher. If you ever watch the Babe Ruth story, which is an old movie with William Bendix from the 40s, or 30s or 40s, but you learn about his story. But he was an amazing pitcher.
That he was. Yeah, I was going to say, he was so good. He played pretty much everything.
Yep.
He's best of all time. That would be why. But number 3, let's see if we can both go 3 for 3 here. I mean, I know that I'll probably screw up on my last one. But Stephen Pea, he broke, in 2011, he broke the NFL Combine bench press record. 225 for so many times. How many times did he bench? How many reps did he get? I'll give you a choice. It was 45, 47, 49, or 50.
I was going to say I knew it was between 45 and 50.
Ow, I'm sorry.
No. I'm just going to get... I knew it was between there. I'll say 49.
Yeah.
Nice.
Let's go.
I was impressed that I even knew between 45 and 50, because I remember watching him. I'm like, are you going to stop anytime soon, or...
I remember. Ooh. I get so jacked over the bench press competition, but I mean it's because of what I do in my spare time.
Yeah.
But I get so excited about that stuff. So.
Yeah. So we're gonna go from something like that to golf. How do you feel about golf, Jake?
We'll see.
Okay, here we go. It's another not too famous of a name, Tiger Woods. Jake, when did he begin his professional golf career? I will give you choices here, just because I think we can... It seems like so many times we can get it within a couple years, so I'll give you a choice here. 92, 94, 96, or 98?
I remember it because I was 2 years old. It was 1996.
There you go. 6 for 6. Can we get like... Yeah. All right. So Jake and I go 3 for 3 each today. And I'll be honest with you, Jake. I thought my questions were a little challenging. So I'm impressed that you knew them.
The only reason I remember that is because my 96 is because my grandparents are huge Tiger fans.
Oh, okay.
So
that makes sense.
So I mean, I guess I kind of like. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, that's the only reason I knew the Tiger question.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jake, as always, it has been a pleasure. Any closing thoughts before we leave for the weekend?
Man, I'm telling you, get ready, because I think we're going to see a few teams that put themselves in a real playoff, not just a playoff hunt, but a World Series hunt. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're talking Chris Archer. We're talking Daniel Murphy. We're talking about a lot of guys that can come in and really change a complete outlook on a team.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward. It seems like we got one of those every year. I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to it. I hope that it's not the Milwaukee Brewers. I'm sorry to all the Brewer fans that are probably listening.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun to watch, to see who goes where, who's buyers, who's sellers. Jake, next week I will be in Pittsburgh. I know you'll be out of town, but I will be in Pittsburgh. I'm excited to visit the Berg for a few days and soak in that wonderful Yinzer air while I'm there. But I'm excited to be there next week, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen, like we said, this upcoming week. Make sure you go onto the Facebook page, the Cheap Seats, to answer our poll question, which is, who do you think is going to win the NFC North, the Packers or the Vikings? Make sure you join us here again on Monday with Christian and Jonathan, next Wednesday with Keith and Max. Hopefully they'll have another fun poll question for y'all. And then meet us back here next Friday with Jake and me. It was a pleasure. Thank you for joining in. We will see you all here on Monday again with Christian and Jonathan.